These days, work is in trouble. We've outsourced most of our manufacturing to other countries, and with that, we sent away good jobs and our capability to make things. American Giant is a clothing company that's pushing back against this tide. They make all kinds of high-quality clothing and activewear, like sweatshirts, jeans, dresses, jackets, and so much more, right here in the USA. So when you buy American Giant, you create jobs in towns and cities across the country. And jobs bring pride, purpose. They stitch people together. If all that sounds good to you, visit American-Giant.com and get 20% off your first order when you use code STAPLE20 at checkout. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with promo code STAPLE20.
With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
This is VSiN PrimeTime. Live from the Circus Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas on VSiN, the sports betting network.
The Garden is alive, Matt Youmans. A 2-point game. Jalen Brunson just hitting a three. 16-14 the score. 5 and change to go in the first quarter between the Celtics and the Knicks. As you raise your eyebrows over there, you know something I don't know.
It's 17-16. Knicks over the Celtics. That's an 11-0 run for the Knicks. So I guess if you took the 10.5 live, you were getting a good number. But then again, there's so many runs over the course of an NBA game. Just got to be patient. And your number is probably going to show up eventually. Celtics now up 19-17, so they answer with a three. The three-point shooting a little bit better for Boston. That's Derek White with the three. How about Boston so far? 5 for 10 from three-point range. And what I say in the previous game, the Knicks were 5 for 25. So a good start here for the Celtics from three. Tim, yesterday I watched one of the worst NBA games I've ever seen. And it was
first half for sure.
First half, and especially the first quarter of the OKC Thunder Denver Nuggets game was as bad as it gets. The first quarter was 17-8. And
it's like a CYO basketball game.
I think with about 4 minutes to go in the first half, the teams combined to shoot 1 for 31 from three-point range. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to the NBA. It was a trash game. And then last night you got the top seed in the East down by 40 points at halftime, the Cavs at Indiana. Sunday was not a showcase day for the NBA. Hopefully we get a couple good games tonight.
Well, I'll say this, and I'm not a shill for the league, but I would say up until Sunday, we've had some pretty exciting games here throughout the NBA playoffs. I think the NBA playoffs have been great. I also think the NHL playoffs have been tremendous. 21-17, the score right now, Boston. Let me ask you this real quickly. Live total is now 213.5. It was 215.5 just a moment ago. So I took a pre-flop under bet, which is not off to a great start here. Worth noting here, Game 1, we saw 213 points, but also Game 1 needed overtime to get to 213, and that landed on the number. We saw 200 points in regulation. Game 2, 181 points. Game 3, 208 points. Would you look at an in-game under with the way that this game has started here, Matt? Or sometimes you just get games where that's hot shooting, and it's hard to as you said, you got to pick your spots. The Celtics 5 of 10 from 3. The Knicks 3 of 8 from 3. 46% total, 7 of 15. I think instead of a side, because I liked it from a pre-flop standpoint under, I think you kind of find a spot and think at some point the defense and the defense tightens up. Things cool off a little bit. Maybe you look in-game under in this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I understand where you're coming from. I'm not going to play that. I know Aaron Renning, professional sports bettor, who's a very sharp NBA capper. I was a little bit surprised. He said today that he played a little bit, not a big bet, but he played a bet over the total on this game tonight.
Not good for me.
Well, the Celtics started to heat up from 3 in Game 3 when they shot 20 for 40. And I think also, I mean, shooting is contagious, Tim. You've seen enough basketball games to know this could be true for both teams.
Sure.
And it was true yesterday in the Thunder Nuggets game. I think the players saw every shot bricking from three, and it became contagious. Every shot was basically going to be a miss. Celtics get a hop from three. I think you're going to see the Knicks start to heat up as well. Maybe that's what's going to fuel an over in this game tonight. We're sitting at a 22-20 with 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. So both these teams are shooting a little bit better tonight.
Josh Hart hitting a corner three.
Yeah, maybe this is going to carry over for the entire game, that these teams are going to – what with the shooting we saw in the first two games in Boston – is going to improve here in games 3 and 4 at the Garden.
Well, and sometimes, as I mentioned, it looks like, at least as of now, I'm on the wrong side of a bet here from a total standpoint. But sometimes we talk about this a lot. You see these in-series adjustments. Open 214.5 in game 1. This thing closed 208.5, got as low as 207 at one point here at Circa, Matt. And then you think back to the ice. Toronto and Florida, games 1, 2, and 3 go over. You see adjustment in the total, and yesterday was a dead under game between Toronto and Florida. So, yeah, it's hard to tell, but I'll tell you what, the Knicks right now hanging with the Celtics. They got down early, down 13-4. We're all tied up at 22 as Jalen Brunson right now is sitting with 5 points as he gets inside the paint. He's really struggled inside the paint throughout this series, but he's now up to 7 points with that bucket. So a 22-22 game right now, under 3 minutes to go in the first quarter, and your live line back to the pre-flop line, sitting at 5.5. Juice towards the Knicks right now, Matt, at minus 125. But as you alluded to, not too long ago, ladies and gentlemen, you could have got Knicks plus 10.5, and now we've got a tie ball game here in the first quarter.
Live number 5.5. Who knows? That 10.5 might pop up again. It's just there's so many runs in games like this. I'll say one thing that's a little bit different about the Celtics this year than last year. First of all, last year the Celtics had an advantageous path to the NBA championship.
Sure. Yeah, a lot of injuries on their way to the championship.
Maybe a little tougher path this year, but Kristaps Porzingis is not the player this year that he was last year.
No. He is not. He's been dealing with some kind of illness, so he's been a bit off. He did get injured in the NBA Finals a year ago, but this has definitely been a more challenging road. At least this series against the New York Knicks has been more challenging than what they saw last year on their run to the NBA championship. So Kristaps Porzingis makes one of two free throws. 23-22 is the score. Still to come tonight. As mentioned, we will get to Minnesota and Golden State. We'll get some thoughts on that, as well as Vegas and Edmonton. First period right now in the books. Another first period under between Carolina and the Washington Capitals. 1-0. The Carolina Hurricanes lead in that one. Matt, I had the radio voice of the Capitals on Saturday morning on the VSiN Weekend Morning Line, John Walton, and he said he fully anticipates a low-scoring series, and he was dead on because we've seen 3 unders. All 3 first periods have gone under. They're about to start the second period there in Carolina. 1-0 is the score. Once again, the news of the day, or of the evening, the Dallas Mavericks get the number 1 pick in the NBA draft. San Antonio gets the number 2 pick. The Philadelphia 76ers get the 3rd pick as well. So the expectation with the news coming out from Shams Charania earlier today that Giannis is interested or intrigued, I guess, of a possible trade.
Wants to leave Milwaukee, in other words?
Yes. With a team with really no cap flexibility. Dame Lillard out for the year. No picks to trade. Milwaukee, look, they went all in. They ultimately did win their title in 21. So the Giannis era was a massive success, considering he was the 15th overall pick. But if you're the Bucks and someone like Nico Harrison ultimately calls you, you gotta consider it. But I think
if Nico Harrison calls, you better answer that phone right away. That's
we're in.
That's a guy you want to deal with for sure.
We're in. Give us number 1 and maybe more.
Tim, I want you to look back at the 2013 NBA draft when the Freak was the 15th pick. That is a historically bad NBA draft. The first, Alex Len, I believe, was the top 5 pick. Anthony Bennett from UNLV was the number 1 overall pick.
Yep.
That was one of the worst drafts I can remember. If you look at the first round, it's amazing that a freak like Giannis Antetokounmpo could slip all the way to the 15th pick. I said a couple years after that draft, how in the hell could all these NBA scouts be looking at all the players in that 13 draft and let the freak fall all the way to number 15?
Well, Matt, when you look at that draft, the funny thing is, so Anthony Bennett went 1, as you alluded, the UNLV player who was an absolute bust. Victor Oladipo had his moments in Orlando, but I don't know. I don't want to call him a bust, but never really amounted to much early on in a career. Otto Porter Jr., Cody Zeller, and then you go all the way down. You have Giannis at 15, and you know who went 27th in that draft? Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, that's right, Gobert.
So you had the European flavor really stepping up in that draft. So
really, you only had, I think, 3 legitimate stars in the first round, and one went 15 and one went 27.
Yep. Yeah, it was definitely a draft that did not create many stars whatsoever. Dennis Schroeder went 17th, so the European pieces in that one were pretty good late.
A big run coming here from the Celtics. Tatum hits a 3 there, another 3 coming up for the Celtics. 36-28. All of a sudden, Boston opens up an 8-point lead, and the live line back up to 8.5, creeping back towards double digits.
Total closed 208.5. It has moved 14 points right now to 225.5. So looks like I've got a nice dead bet there. The other bet that I do have in pocket just got a little bit worse as Paul Skeens gave up a run in the 4th inning, and this will get them out of the 4th inning. So after 4 at Citi Field, the Pirates and the New York Mets tied at 1 as right now the Boston Celtics have gotten red hot, ladies and gentlemen, as they're going to hit a 3, Matt, here to end the first quarter.
Guess what?
They're going to go up 39-28.
Live line now 11.5.
So now, do you get involved?
Yeah, wait a little while longer.
Jason Tatum.
The Celtics red hot
fire.
all of a sudden from 3. Nobody questioning the Celtics 3-point shooting right now. 39-28 is the lead for Boston, and Celtics are 9 for 14 from 3.
Let me ask you this right now.
Yeah.
11-point lead for the Boston Celtics. They are right now on the live line. DraftKings keeps their futures up. Boston Celtics to win the Eastern Conference is -130.
Well, first of all, they're going to be significant favorites over the Pacers.
Yes. I think -130 is a bargain.
I think
right
that's
now.
a good bet.
If you can, I would bet the Boston Celtics right now. I've been confident even after the first 2 games. It was shaking a little bit. I think -130 is the best you're going to get as it just jumped to -150. So
I will say
there
this.
You go.
I agree. Well, 130, I probably would have bet it. Every team we're talking about left in the NBA is flawed. Mm-hmm. Every team's flawed. It's obvious they're all flawed. But I think 130 on the Celtics was actually a pretty good price. So,
and someone was smart enough to whack it because it's now out to -150. The Celtics, after 1 quarter, on fire. 39-28, Matt. They are 9 of 14 from long range. It is VSiN Primetime.
These days, work is in trouble. We've outsourced most of our manufacturing to other countries, and with that, we sent away good jobs and our capability to make things. American Giant is a clothing company that's pushing back against this tide. They make all kinds of high-quality clothing and activewear, like sweatshirts, jeans, dresses, jackets, and so much more, right here in the USA. So when you buy American Giant, you create jobs in towns and cities across the country. And jobs bring pride, purpose. They stitch people together. If all that sounds good to you, visit American-Giant.com and get 20% off your first order when you use code STAPLE20 at checkout. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with promo code STAPLE20.
This is VSiN Primetime on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
It is VSiN Primetime. Busy Monday evening. That's Matt Youmans. I'm Tim Murray. PGA Championship coming up. We'll talk to our friend Steve Sands, who is none too pleased with his Washington Capital, with our Washington Capitals. I'm actually texting with Mr. Sands right now as the Carolina Hurricanes lead the Capitals 2-0. You know, there were a lot of people surprised that the Capitals were such a significant underdog heading into that series. And, well, not to say that it's always the case, but sometimes that stinky line is indicative. And right now it looks like the case here as the Carolina Hurricanes seeming to be on the verge of going up 3-1 on the Washington Capitals. They lead 2-0 in that one. A goal in the first, a goal in the second. Right now, the live line minus 1850 on the Carolina Hurricanes. Total 5.5 juiced under at minus 154. The Boston Celtics had a great run to end the first quarter, Matt. They were on fire. 9 threes in the opening quarter. 39-30 is the lead right now as the Knicks get the first bucket of the second quarter and get a defensive stop on the Celtics opening possession. So right now, live line sits at 7.5. So you could have got it at 11.5, back down to 7.5 as the Knicks are coming out shooting the ball well, Matt. They have hit a bunch of threes. And right now, your live total out to 220.5. First 3 games of this series, depending on how you want to grade it out, we'll call it a game 1 push at 213 was the closing number at a lot of spots, but a lot of 213.5s out there. Game 2, dead under. Game 3, pretty close to the number, landed 208, 209.5 was the total. And here right now, definitely trending over in this one with the Celtics and Knicks. 39-33, 10 minutes to go, second quarter, Matt. Live line now back down to 6.5 between the Knicks and the Celtics. And I just want to circle back to our brief conversation before we hit the break. So for a moment, the Celtics to win the East was minus 130. DraftKings kept the line up. It has now bumped up to minus 150. They're only up 6 right now on the Knicks. But if you're of the mindset, like I am, that the Celtics are going to win this series, and if you're of the mindset that Cavaliers are toast, which seems likely at this point with the questions about Donovan Mitchell's health heading into a Game 5, down 3-1, getting absolutely embarrassed yesterday. I mean, this is a question more for Jeff Sherman of the Westgate Superbook, but I mean, what are we looking at for a line, a series price of the Celtics and the Pacers? You're looking at -5, -600, somewhere in that ballpark?
All right, so I was just guessing it was going to be maybe Celtics -$5.
Yeah.
And Pacers fans would be, that's way too high. But I think that's what the market's going to dictate. Boston's going to be.
Because what was Cleveland? Weren't they like -450?
I would say Cleveland was about a $5 favorite over the Pacers.
So you get a little bit of adjustment for the Pacers.
Range, yeah.
You get a little bit of adjustment for the Pacers. But look, I think right now, I mean, unless you think New York, they're fighting, only down 4, and they win this game, they're down 3-1, or up 3-1, I beg your pardon. But I'll tell you what, if the Celtics win this game, -150, wave that bye-bye. That has definitely changed. So, if you think the Knicks can hang in this game and pull off the upset and win this one at home and go up 3-1, then you wait. But I think Boston, if you're of the belief that they can win this series, laying $150, in my opinion, is a pretty good price, considering that number jumps exponentially if they win this game here tonight.
Yeah, I think that's actually a pretty good bet, especially when you look at the West, because the Celtics are going to be, let's say, $4 or $5 favorites over the Pacers to win the East. So you're laying $150 on a team that's probably going to win the Eastern Conference if they hold this lead and win tonight. Now, Tim, if they lose this game tonight, how would you feel about this bet?
Not great.
Because we've seen and
it's not like the Knicks are going anywhere.
They're not going away right now. It's 41-35. We've seen the Celtics blow 20-point leads in 2 of the 3 games. So I'm not getting overconfident with the Celtics right now. Again, because I've said all these teams are so flawed, it's hard for me to have a lot of confidence in any of the teams remaining. Talk about the Elite 8 in the NBA. These are all flawed teams. But now I think what we see now is a team that's going to come out of the West is not going to be as daunting or as intimidating as maybe what you thought before the playoffs. If you watched OKC Thunder, you can say, wow, this team's really good defensively. But the OKC Thunder have flaws too.
Sure.
And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has not been all that impressive in the last couple of games. And it looks like he's starting to wear down a little bit, just like Joker's starting to wear down for the Nuggets.
Joker looked exhausted.
It looks like he's running out of gas. So I don't think the team that, bottom line is, I don't think the team that comes out of the West probably scares you as much now as it did maybe a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Or a month ago. You're thinking, wow, the team that comes out of the West is going to be tough as hell. I don't think that's the case right now. The more I watch the West, the less impressed I am with the teams coming out of the West. And that's why I think if you make that bet on the Celtics, you're not making a bad play. By the way, Celtics now at 46-35, and the live line is 11.5. The live total 221.5. Tim, this is the highest it's been in terms of the live line here, 11.5. If you want to take the dog, I think the highest the total reached at this, 223.5 or 225?
223.5.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is where we're looking. I'm just curious. I was curious if other, pulling up FanDuel right now. Actually, FanDuel is a little bit cheaper at minus 140. So if you do think the Celtics win this series, that is certainly a way to potentially look at it here. So
I'm not going to say if the Celtics win tonight, there's no way they're going to lose Game 5 in Boston, because I didn't think they were going to lose Game 2 in Boston.
No.
And what you've seen in these NBA playoffs is that the home court advantage has not meant all that much. And, if the Celtics win tonight, they go home, they're going to be in a great spot. There's no guarantee Celtics are going to win Game 5 in Boston. I would think that, by the way, right now it's 48-35. Live number is 12.5. That's the highest we've seen. The money line is all the way up to minus 620 on Boston. With 7 minutes to go in the second quarter, that's a big number because, like I said, you see some major swings and big runs in these games. I think you got to look at the dog prices, plus $4, plus $4.50, plus 11.5, plus 12.5. That's what I'd look at here, because do you trust the Celtics to hold this lead for 4 quarters?
No.
What, 2.5 more quarters?
What lets you decide that? By the way, quick update from Citi Field. If you bet Paul Skeens plus money, the best you can do, folks, is a push. The Pirates had the men on first and third, but the Mets are able to get out of it. So now the sweat is on to see if Paul Skeens can get out of the 5th inning and make it a push there with the Pittsburgh Pirates. When you were on vacation, Will Hill and I took Paul Skeens' first 5, and we had to deal with a push last week, and right now it looks like that'll be the case once again here. So the New York Mets, 1-1 is the score against Paul Skeens, and at this point, you would feel like you probably. Let me double check what it is, Matt. You would probably want to take the Mets on a live number here, because at some point, and that's what you're looking at, is up to minus 220. So yeah, that is where we're looking right now.
The best bet on the card Sunday was the Pacers over the Cavs, right? Rocking chair winner. You got a home dog. It was up 40 at halftime. Best bet today on the card had to be the Detroit Tigers. Plus 108 here at Circa. Tigers went off as home dogs. They now lead the Red Sox 12-1 in the 5th inning. That's a rocking chair winner if you got the Tigers.
How about yesterday, Matt? And I know we like to look ahead here, but I did have to laugh a little bit, because I came on the airwaves on Sunday morning, and I was joking that, hey, if you're jonesing for football, we got a 21-0 game on Saturday, as the Boston Red Sox won 21-0 over the San Diego Padres, I beg your pardon, won 21-0 over the Rockies. And then, wouldn't you know it, baseball being baseball, the Rockies came back and won on Sunday over the San Diego, dominated them, right? Well, after Bud Black gets fired.
Oh, it's one of my favorite angles, too, is I love to play on a team after that team just took an embarrassing loss. And it works a lot. It's worked in the NBA, too. What happened to the Nuggets after they got beat by 40 in OKC?
Won the next game?
Came back and won the next game. I love to bet on a team.
Cleveland? Are you going to go Cleveland tomorrow?
I don't know about that, because
they're hurt.
Well, Donovan Mitchell is hobbled, right? Not even sure he's going to play. And I think the Cavs might have packed it in. But I do love that angle to play on a team that got blown out and embarrassed in the previous game. One more mention here. Do you know the hottest team in baseball, close to it, is the St. Louis Cardinals? Won 8 in a row.
Yes, I do know that, because they went to D.C. and swept my Nationals.
Tied 2-2 with the Phillies, bottom of the 6th.
Oh, my Nationals are a disaster. 1-1 is the score. Once again, Paul Skeens on the hill, bottom of the 5th inning at Citi Field. And he is facing, I believe, the bottom of the lineup here for the New York Mets. So we'll see if Skeens and the Pirates bettors who took the plus money are able to get out of it. Hey, folks, if you want to know where the money is really going, and we'll get you updates from our betting splits here in just a little bit. Unlike other sources, our betting splits come straight from Circa and DraftKings Sportsbooks, giving you the insight where the sharp action is landing. You can see the percentage of bets versus percent of handle on every game across every major sport, helping you make smarter, more informed bet. Get VSiN's exclusive betting splits for as little as $9.99 for your first month at vsin.com/subscribe. Quick update before we hit a break here at the Garden. The Celtics up 48-35, 11.5-point favorites in game.
This is VSiN Primetime on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
It is VSiN Primetime. Busy night ahead of us as we've got a hockey game, a Stanley Cup playoff game, I should say, on the ice right now down in Raleigh, North Carolina. The Carolina Hurricanes lead that game 2-0. Live line in that one, minus 2,100 on the Carolina Hurricanes, now minus 2,500 as they lead 2-0 midway through the second period. Matt, total down to 4.5. The Carolina Hurricanes up 2-1, looking like they will head to 3-1 as the night goes on. At Madison Square Garden, the Knicks hanging around. Every time you see a run from the Boston Celtics, there the Knicks are to punch back. 48-42, Matt. The Knicks, by far, their best shooting performance, at least in the first half so far in this game, as it is 48-42. Live line, 7.5 right now. Total, 221.5.
We just talked about this. This live number was 11.5, right? Did it get to 12.5?
I didn't see it, but I'll be honest, I didn't have the ticker up in front of me.
I think 11.5 might have been the peak. And then
about to get down to
live point spread,
here.
that's 48-44 right now. Celtics over the Knicks. So this is what the money line's been chopped in half. We talked about $6.
Yep.
Celtics are minus 620 or something. Now it's minus 315. Actually, Boston's going to hit a 3 here to go up 51-44. The live betting screen, by the way, is about 40 seconds ahead of your TV's feed. So that's why we're updating the score before you see it happen. But
if you want a fun trick, get your DraftKings app out at a bar and just sit there
and predict
what's going to happen, like Groundhog Day and Bill
Murray.
Murray.
The Celtics are about to hit a 3 here. How does this guy get this right?
What? How does Joey know everything? I don't know, guys. I've got a feeling on these situations.
No, but here's the thing with the Celtics, and I think this is true in general with the NBA. When you're looking to live bet, wait until a team goes on a big run, takes a big lead, then you're going to look at the underdog. Look at taking the points or look at taking the money line price. But, Tim, I think a team like the Celtics are especially volatile because they shoot so many threes. And if they go cold for 2 or 3 minutes without hitting a 3, a 10 or 12-point lead can be cut to 2 or 3 just like that.
All right, so we got a whole lot going on tonight. We got to get to the nightcap of this evening's games, as we will have the Vegas Golden Knights and the Edmonton Oilers. That has been a tremendous series, back and forth in that one, and ultimately the Edmonton Oilers will be without their starting goalie for a second straight game. Stuart Skinner has been, in a word, not awesome. So far in net for Edmonton in his 3 starts so far this postseason. And then we also have Golden State and Minnesota, no Steph Curry for the Golden State Warriors. Matt, you talked about a rocking chair winner from yesterday would have been the Indiana Pacers. Good on the money line, plus the points. I mean, it was an easy every which possible way. And I believe there was a big bet out there that was, I would imagine this gentleman probably none too pleased with it.
Probably not bragging at the bar with his friends or putting up videos on social media. Stacks of cash. Hey, look what I lost on the Cavs game last night. There was a big bet alert on the DraftKings Twitter account last night. $60,000 just before the game. $60,000 bet on the Cavs money line minus 198 against the Pacers. Possible payout $90,303. I can think of a lot more entertaining ways to lose $60,000 than to bet on the Cavs, who were down 40 points at halftime. A lot of people like to brag so much about their best bets and their winners.
Oh, Twitter is like 88% on winners, man. It's just all you got to go.
You think the guy who put in this bet on the Cavs last night for $60,000 on the money line was talking to his friends about the bet he made? Probably trying to sweep that one under the rug, right? Not tell anybody about it. That's the bad bet of the month right there. Tim, you laid almost $2 on the money line on a team that trailed by 40 points at halftime.
Matt, I'm here to tell you something. That was me. That was me. That was my bet. I put $60,000 down on the.
Now you will bet some significant amounts on college basketball games. You will not bet like that on the NBA.
No. Oh man, imagine sitting there, Mother's Day brunch, waiting in the anticipation of the game. You take your mom out to a nice brunch there.
when the Cavs win tonight, we're going to be sitting pretty.
I'm going to take you on vacation. Knicks, baby. They are not going away. OG Anunoby burying a 3. The Knicks have come ready to play today. There is no doubt. By the way, quick update from Citi Field. If you took the first 5+ money on Paul Skeens, you got your money back. Salt and pepper. Push it real good. There you go. 1-1, top of the 6th inning. So on to upward and better things there in that game as Jaylen Brown now buries a 3. I'll tell you what, I'm glad I didn't put 60 large on the under in this game. I was telling you, look, my unit size pretty low during this time of the year. Want to make bets. We've taken a couple. I did get in on that Eastern Conference bet, which, by the way, you can now get a slightly better number. It's down to -145
What'd you bet,
at DraftKings. I got -150 on the Celtics to win the Eastern Conference because this Knicks team doesn't seem to be dying here tonight. 55-47, live number 9.5. We've been kind of on a night where we're talking ping pong balls and the NBA lottery. Once again, if you missed it, the NBA lottery won by the Dallas Mavericks, rewarded for their moronic trade of Luka Doncic. This number has been ping-ponging back, right? 5.5, out to 11.5, back down to 5.5. Right now, holding strong 8.5, 55-47. Celtics with the lead over the New York Knicks. Looks like some free throws coming here for the Celtics with 3:22 to go in the first half.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown at the free throw line, and he
Clank.
is going to miss the first and make the second. So it'll be 56-47 with 3 minutes to go. So on social media tonight, there are all sorts of conspiracy theories being floated about the Mavericks winning the top pick in the NBA draft lottery. I don't buy into that stuff. Now, if it were David Stern's NBA in the old days, I'm 100% buying into the conspiracy theories. I mean, I never doubted the conspiracy theories when Stern ran the league. The association was something you always doubted. You always believed the conspiracy theories. These days, I'm not going to buy into this stuff with the Mavericks. I don't believe it. Do you?
No, I don't. I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy.
I don't think the league's trying to set up Dallas. And you can say, well, if you trade Luka to L.A., we will set you up with Cooper Flag. That's not the way it's going to work. Not working that way.
No. But that is the I would say, if you had to rank the conspiracy theories out there, the number one theory is, well, the NBA called Dallas and said, if you trade Luka, we'll get you Cooper Flag.
That's not going to happen.
All you need to do is you'll get Anthony Davis.
So
he'll get hurt. You'll finish in the bottom part of the lottery, and you'll get an opportunity to draft Cooper Flag. Come on, stop.
Actually, if it were David Stern's NBA, I think the Sixers
I would have said the Sixers would have got him.
Sixers would have won the lottery tonight because you put him in a city like Philadelphia. That's much better for the association.
I tell you what, though, if you are into the soap opera of the NBA with the Giannis possibility of him being traded, you got some big hitters now out there with the possibility to trade for Giannis, whether it be Dallas, as Brian Windhorst said, hey, they've been interested in Giannis for many, many years, whether it be San Antonio now with their picks and their young assets to go along with Victor and De'Aaron Fox, whether it be a team like Philadelphia, who now has a 3rd overall pick here, Matt. Look, the big losers tonight, Utah, Washington, New Orleans, Charlotte. My God, you guys suck, and you got nothing out of this. Look, VJ Edgecombe, maybe he'll be great.
You tank for 2 months, and you got nothing.
If you're the Washington Wizards ticket sales office, you're sitting there going, come on, give us number 1, give us Cooper Flag, and you got Con Knipple.
Well, if you're the Wizards, if you're working in the Wizards ticket office, you're going to call up the fans and say, hey, you may have noticed we won the number 6 pick in the lottery. Would you like to renew your season tickets? No chance.
No, I'm good.
No, that's not going to happen. That's a real bummer. We're laughing about it, but how much of a bummer is that for the Hornets, the Jazz, the Wizards, the Pelicans to finish, 4, 5, 6, 7 right there in the draft lottery? Anyway, I do think the Spurs, and if the Spurs landed Cooper Flag, you'd be talking about a team that's going to quickly rise to one of the best in the West, but the Spurs end up with the number 2 pick. And they could end up with the freak. I really think Giannis Antetokounmpo, if I had to pick his most likely landing spot outside of Milwaukee, I would pick San Antonio today.
I mean, they got the package to go get him, right? I mean, you would think after you go out and acquire De'Aaron Fox at the trade deadline, and that was more of a future asset, right? You've got the freak, you've got the alien in Victor Wembanyama, and then ultimately now you have a chance to go get Giannis. You have the 2nd pick, the 14th pick. You've got a young piece in Stephon Castle. I think that is potentially going to be an intriguing offer if they want to go that route with Greg Popovich now pulling the strings there as the team president. 56-47 is the score with 2 minutes to go at Madison Square Garden as Kristaps Porzingis gets a putback there. So an 11-point lead right now for the Boston Celtics. Matt, before I get this read, you want to give us a quick update on what's happening on the ice in Raleigh?
2-0 Carolina over Washington. Not much has changed there. Hurricanes big favorites. Alex Ovechkin had 4 goals in the first round for the Caps. Tim, I think he's got 0 in this series, right?
It is correct. He has struggled here in this series. Hey, folks, before that line moves, the sharp plays at sharpplays.com are already there. They don't chase the market. They move it. So check them out. Sharpplays.com. Documented track record going back to 2011 with receipts, public logs, and results right there on the site. Respected, watched, feared. 11-point lead for the Boston Celtics over the New York Knicks. 1:42 to go in the first half. The Boston Celtics trying to even up that series at 2 games apiece.
This is VSiN PrimeTime on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Keep it rolling here on VSiN Primetime. Closing seconds of the first half. The Boston Celtics leading by 13, so they will cover the first half number with ease. I believe that number went off around 3.5. Jalen Brunson gets fouled here, so he, I believe, will head to the free throw line. First half line for this one, Matt, was 3.5. So easy cover for the Boston Celtics there in the first half. And the first half over was 107.5. And I think we are over, but not by that much, which is kind of interesting. We're at 62-49 right now, so we do go over the first half number there. But that is the score right now as Jalen Brunson heads to the free throw line with 11 seconds to go here in the opening half. Your live line, Matt, has continued to ping pong around minus 10.5 right now for the Boston Celtics as we go to the locker rooms. Live total? Maybe I'm a little bit alive here. 216.5. Not dead yet.
214.5 at DraftKings.
All right.
That's the number at halftime. 62-51 at the half. So 113 points on the board and a total of 214.5 at DraftKings. You played under
208.5. I'm in trouble.
208.5. Okay.
I mean, it was at 223.5 at one point. So I guess.
Well, the lowest we've seen, I believe. Circa went down to 207 pregame at one point, right? That was the lowest number.
Yeah, we were looking at the board right before we hopped on air. It was 207, and then bang, you hit 208.5. So that's where we closed going into the locker room. So 62-51, Matt. You know, it's funny. The conference total, and I give DraftKings a lot of credit, and FanDuel too, for having these live futures up and trying to adjust them at times. So that after the first quarter, for a brief moment, the Celtics to win the Eastern Conference was minus 130. It quickly went up to minus 150. I grabbed a little piece of that. It went down to minus 145. Now, at halftime, 11-point lead for the Boston Celtics, minus 180 for the Boston Celtics to win the Eastern Conference.
Well, Tim, good.
Well, I needed something after having that terrible under bet.
Good instincts from you, though, to point that out right away. Minus 130 on the Celtics being a play. It's up to 180. So you laid $150, right? That was the price you got?
Did not get the best of it. Solid at minus 130, but it is $150. All right, 2 periods in the books. In Raleigh, North Carolina, the Carolina Hurricanes leading 2-0 over the Washington Capitals. So that is, I'll say this, Matt. As a Caps fan, and seeing the folks over at ESPN.com, I think they had 24 people pick that series. The Carolina Hurricanes were the betting favorite. 16 of the 24 picked the Capitals to win that series. As soon as I saw that, I said, uh-oh, this is not good. Right now.
ESPN handicappers are having a tough postseason. I believe in the Lakers-Timberwolves series.
Did all of them?
All 10 prognosticators on ESPN.com, all 10 picked the Lakers, right? And I think in no more than 6 games, and the T-Wolves knocked them out in 5, right?
Yeah.
But, typically that's why you have contrarian bettors out there who want to go against the public a lot of times. And that could be an effective strategy. Celtics 12 for 24 from three here in the first half. So, Tim, what we're seeing from Boston is a pretty clear pattern at this point. At home in the first two games, 25% from three. On the road, so far through a game and a half, 50% from three. And that's why the Celtics are obviously playing much better. They've got a total of 37 field goal attempts in the first half, 24 of those from three-point range, and Jason Tatum with 20 points.
Isn't that funny how it works, Matt? So, as you just pointed out, 25 of 100 from three at the TD Garden, games 1 and 2. And right now, through 6 quarters of basketball at Madison Square Garden, they are 32 of 64.
Right.
50% right on the numbers. So 62-51, the halftime score. Jason Tatum, as you pointed out, 20 points in that first half. Very strong half from him. Derek White, 17 points in the first half. Jaylen Brown, 12 points in the half as well. Jalen Brunson, 13 points in the first half for the Knicks. He leads them in scoring. Karl Anthony Towns, 10 points and 8 boards. 9 points for Mikal Bridges. OG Anunoby, who was not very good in game 3, 8 points so far in this one, and he is a team worst, minus 15 here tonight is OG Anunoby. So halftime at Madison Square Garden, 62-51 is the score. Matt, we're going to get some thoughts on Golden State and the Minnesota Timberwolves, as that number sits right now down to 4.5. So late money coming in here on the Golden State Warriors. We'll get some thoughts on that coming up top of the hour, Matt. But we did see some official announcements regarding the NFL. We will have the full schedule release prime time. We'll react to it here on VSiN PrimeTime on Wednesday night. But we do have some games officially announced. We talked to Johnny Avello earlier in the show, and he talked about when they will have those numbers up. They've got a couple up already, so let's hit on them.
More than a couple, actually. DraftKings, when we talked to Johnny Avello in the first hour tonight, there was one line up on the board. It was Cowboys-Eagles in that September 4th season opener. Eagles 7, total of 46.5. While we're talking to Johnny, a second game popped up. November 28th, Bears at Eagles. Same number, same total. Eagles -7, total of 46.5. Tim, since then, we have seen 3 more games put up by DraftKings.
All right, let's run through them. So these are the 5 games we have officially had announced, courtesy of the NFL. The season opener, what do you got?
We're actually missing a game because on that Friday, the first Friday of the season, September 5th, it's been announced, it's not official by the NFL. Everybody knows it's Chargers and Chiefs in Brazil, right?
No, Chargers and Dolphins. I don't think it's the Chiefs, is it? Is the Chiefs are going to Brazil? They are? Oh, yeah. Sorry. Has that officially been announced?
Yeah, it's supposed to be the first Friday. Chargers, Chiefs, and Brazil. That game's not posted up at DraftKings anyway. Go ahead and talk about the other 3 that are 5 games. I think we know at least 6 or 7 games right now.
Yeah, and now there's speculation about who will be on Christmas. In addition to Denver and Kansas City, it seems very likely that Green Bay, with that Saturday announcement on December 20th, will be playing on Christmas Day at home because they have Washington and Philadelphia on their schedule, and both of them play on that Saturday. But let's get to the officialness of those first 5 games. So the season opener, Matt, will, of course, be in Philadelphia as the Eagles won the Super Bowl, so they get to host, and they will take on the Dallas Cowboys. Eagles -7, total of 46.5, Thursday, September 4th at Lincoln Financial Field. Matt?
Not a big Cowboys booster, but I think 7 is maybe a tick high. If anything, if I played this, I'd take Cowboys +7 right now. You're talking about a division underdog, and I probably would have made this number 6, 6.5. I think at 7, you'd get sharper play on the dog. And again, if you look back at the Eagles last season, I know they were 5-1 in the division. They swept the Cowboys, but the Eagles really had to struggle to pull away in some of those home games late in the season. I don't think laying 7 here would be the sharp play, especially not at this point. So it would be dog or pass for me here. I wouldn't be surprised if you see this number dip to 6.5, but I thought it was going to be 6.5 or 7, and I'm not surprised. I actually think even though the Bears have some upside this year with the new coaching staff, Ben Johnson, and all the things going on there, I think the Bears personnel, the roster, everything's a little bit better. I still would power rate the Cowboys a little bit better than the Bears. I'd probably make that number Eagles 6.5 over the Cowboys. Again, that's a division game. And I could see Eagles being 7 over the Bears.
And
that's what we're talking about late November.
It's funny to look at it right now. So the season opener, September 4th, Eagles at home against the Cowboys, 7, total 46.5. Eagles, Bears, 7, total 46.5. That is the Black Friday game, 3 p.m. Eastern kick there at Lincoln Financial. By the way, we have 3 Eagles games already announced because Saturday, December 20th, the rematch of the NFC Championship game in Washington, or technically Landover, Maryland. Philadelphia, a 1.5-point road favorite over the Washington Commanders. And also on December 20th, Matt, Green Bay at Chicago, and Green Bay a 1.5-point favorite. So right now at DraftKings, Eagles 1.5-point favorites at Washington, Green Bay 1.5-point favorites at the Bears, 45.5 the total in that one on December 20th. And then Christmas Day, we know the primetime game, Broncos at Chiefs. And does this line seem short?
No, because I think the Broncos are going to get a lot of respect on betting.
4.5 at Arrowhead.
I think the Broncos have had a really good offseason. That's a team on the rise. You could see it last season. I think that's a team on the rise in the AFC West. And, I guess you could make a case, say maybe 5.5, right? But 4.5 really doesn't surprise me when you're talking about Broncos and Chiefs. By the way, Tim, look at the 2 games between those teams last season.
Yeah.
The Broncos should have won the game in Kansas City. Then obviously the Chiefs mailed in the game in Denver and got blown out. But the key to me was in that game in KC, the Chiefs had their backs to the wall. The Broncos lined up for a game-winning field goal attempt and missed it.
Yep.
It was a chip shot kick. The Broncos should have swept the Chiefs last year.
Hopefully by December 25th, my guy R.J. Harvey will be your leading candidate for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
The Broncos have had a good offseason. I like a lot of the moves they've made. Their roster's pretty solid top to bottom.
We got ourselves a great deal, folks, over at VSiN.com. You want to be a VSiN Pro subscriber? Guess what? You can get 14 months for $199. Normally, it's 12 months for $240. Use the promo code PRO at VSiN.com/subscribe.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.